Blam! Good morning. Welcome back to Red Cross Elementary School. It's good to see you guys again. I hope everybody's doing well. As usual, it would be much better if all of you guys were out here, but wherever you are, I hope you're doing well. I miss you. And today I want to talk to you just a little bit about volume. Now, volume is a very simple equation. It's just length times width times height. In other words, how long something is multiplied, there we have that dot again, by how wide it is multiplied by how tall it is. Now, the big difference between area and volume is the fact that now instead of 2 dimensions, we're using 3 dimensions, length, width, height. So on these answers, where typically you're used to getting an answer, let's say your answer was 23 inches squared. Well, now that would have been okay when you were just doing length, width, or when you were just doing base height. Now, because we're doing length, width, and height, you're not going to square the answer, you're going to cube the answer, which is at 3, cubic, okay? So if you take a look, you see shapes, okay? We have your typical cube. Now a cube has sides that are all the same, just like a square. You have what's known as a rectangular prism, and it's basically a 3D rectangle. Now, this is kind of neat. This is also a cube, but all I did was I took this shape and I just rotated it. So off the bat, don't be tricked or confused when you see a cube or a rectangular prism that's been turned or slanted. You're still going to do the math the exact same. Just length times width times height. Okay? Let's take a look at a problem here this morning. This is a rectangular prism. We see it has sides that are longer, sides that are smaller. But the big thing we want to plug in are the values. Length times width times height. So we have a length of 5 inches. We have a width of 2 inches. And we have a height of 2 inches. But Johnson, what if I'm at home and I looked at that shape differently and I got confused and I put those numbers out of order? Wouldn't matter. And I'll show you why. Remember, commutative property of multiplication. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. Nice job. Which would come out to 20 inches cubed. There's that 3. Well, what if we read it like this? What if we said it was 2 inches long, 5 inches wide, and 2 inches high? It's no problem. Remember, commutative property. 2 times 5 is 10, and 10 times 2 is 20. 20 inches cubed. What if we read it as 2 inches wide, 2 inches long, and 5 inches tall? Once again, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. When you're doing volume, don't worry. As long as you multiply the 3 numbers, you'll be perfectly fine. But remember, this form of volume only applies to cubes and rectangular prisms. In other words, it's got to look like that box that you're wrapping up. So 2 times 5 times 2, well, that's 20. And then we see my SMART score hop up, right? Here's another one. We have the same measurements. 5 yards long, 2 yards tall, 2 yards wide. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. Let's type that in. Excellent. Here we have another box. 5 millimeters long, 4 millimeters wide, 2 millimeters high. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 2 is 40. Excellent. So for FF 14, which is the standard that I'm dealing with now, all you have to do is find the volume of cubes and rectangular prisms. And I know you've got that. So once you bump that up, the next standard, which I want to address, is FF15. And FF15 deals with the same thing. It's the volume of these 3D shapes. It's the volume of cubes and rectangular prisms. However, they give it to you now in word problems. Now, I know for some of you, you hear that and you're like, oh, don't worry. It's the same math. You just have to read it, okay? Let's do a couple together this morning before I get ready to pop off. The Mango Mania Drinks Company has a new design for their juice boxes. Each box will have a square base with an area of 22 square centimeters. So in other words, here's this box. Now, they have told us that it's got an area of 22. But Johnson, we're talking about volume. Area, remember? Length times width. So they're telling us they're going to give us two things, and then we're going to figure out something else. The height will be 12 centimeters, okay? So if we're thinking like a juice box that we drink, right? This is going to be those, they stand up. But remember, just because I'm standing the juice box up doesn't change anything. This is still just like this. It's just turned, right? And now it has a height of 12 centimeters. So from top to bottom, 12 centimeters. What is the volume of the new juice box? Well, since we already know the height, okay? Since we already know the height, and they've told us that this area is 22. Well, remember, area is length times width. So the question is, what times what equals 22? Can you think of two numbers to multiply to make 22? That's right. If we do 11 times 2 or 2 times 11, that makes 22. So we can plug those in. Let's say that this box is 11 centimeters wide, or sorry, 11 centimeters long and 2 centimeters wide. So now we've got our things. 11 times 2 times 12. Let's do that math. 11 times 2, we already know that's 22. And now 22 times 12. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Placeholder, 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. And now we add. 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. The 2 drops. 264 cubic centimeters. Let's see if the old man still got it. 264, enter. Correcto. Westwood Grocery Store needs a new freezer for popsicles and ice cream bars. Okay, needs a new freezer. Now, if most of you are familiar with freezers, they're large, they sit on the ground, okay? The owner finds a freezer that is 4 feet long, 2 feet wide, 3 feet tall. Now, I'll go ahead and draw this, but I'm pretty sure most of you all can start to do the math without actually having to see it. But let's go ahead and draw it. He said it's 4 feet long by 2 feet wide by 3 feet tall. Okay, length times width times height. 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24 feet cubed. Okay, we'll put in 2, 4. Yay, we're all good. Kenji's family is moving across town. They are busy packing their furniture into a moving van. The storage space in the moving van is shaped like a rectangular prism. It has a floor area of 14 square meters. Okay, now, I want you to notice this. Here's another problem where they've told you the area. Well, remember, if they're telling you the area is length times width. So really, they've already done part of the multiplication for you. If they've told you that it has an area of 14, okay, of 14 square meters, okay, so we know this is 14 meters squared, cool. You can actually take this area and just multiply it by the height. It has a height of 2 meters. Now, once again, so that no one's confused, Johnson, so I can multiply area by height? Yes, because area means you've already multiplied your length times your width. So 14 times 2 would be 28 meters. Now look, let's draw that real quick. Here's a rectangular prism. And this says that it has a height of 2 meters. So from top to bottom, 2 meters. Well, that means that length and width has to multiply to make 14. Can you think of two numbers that multiply to make 14? That's excellent. This would be 7 meters long and 2 meters wide. And see, look, I just want to show you the math's going to come out the same. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 times 2 is 28 meters cubed. Let's type it in. Hey, glitchy smartboard. There we go. I hope this has helped. Volume is pretty straightforward, okay? Now, FF14 and FF15 are on different days, so you don't have to do both in one day. My advice, though, is make sure you go ahead and just knock them out. I mean, you're doing volume, you got a good rhythm, you can do that. One other thing I want to show you. When you're at home and you're working, you are allowed to use a calculator. I'm not totally mean. And by the way, how would I ever know you're at home? I'm not coming by to check it out. Social distancing, people. But nonetheless, let's say you're sitting there and you're like, well, Johnson, man, we got a calculator, but it doesn't have any batteries. Or we can't find our calculator, Johnson. No problem. Google actually has a calculator you can use. And here's all you got to do. Just hit the plus sign. And when you get to Google, just type in Google calculator. And you hit enter. And now Google's got a calculator right here for you that you can use for anything, okay? So for example, my last problem, 14 times 2 equals, oh, that was 14 times 1. Be great if you had a teacher that actually knew his numbers. Ta-da! And you can use this with decimals, you can use this with fractions, you can do all kinds of good stuff on this. We miss you guys. We love you guys. We hope you're doing okay. I can't wait to see you. If everything goes right, we'll be back on April 13th. So fingers crossed, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.